Join us as we dive into the history, hauntings, and high strange of the world to try to better understand the paranormal. I will be your guide. I am paranormal researcher and investigator Eric Freeman Sims. Welcome to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. This is part 2 with author, investigator, and researcher Nicole Strickland. But before we get to the second half of this awesome episode, I just wanted to ask you, if you're a fan of the show, please go on Apple and give us a 5-star rating and write a nice review. It goes a long way with helping people discover the show and gain more audience and kind of build the show so that we can keep doing what we're doing. And it helps us out with bringing in revenue for the show, too, with the ads and things like that. More people listening, the more revenue. And that allows me to keep doing this because, man, surprisingly, it does cost money to do this. It's not free. It's equipment and it's hosting fees and things like that. I won't bore you with that. But just all you have to do is go and leave a review. You can also leave reviews on Spotify, but Apple is kind of the gold standard in the podcast industry. So if you will go do that, I would so appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening to the show and making the show what it is and as big as it is. And we love our whole audience for that. Thank you so much. And now on to the rest of the conversation with the awesome Nicole Strickland. Enjoy. So you got a section in the book that's kind of about intuition and chakras and things. So if somebody's out of connection with their intuition, what are some of the things that you would recommend they do to kind of get back in connection with the spirit world and with that intuition?
Intention play is a big part.
Yeah.
About intention. If you are open to your intuition and you want to foster it and grow it, you allow your senses to be open to that, it's just going to naturally evolve. So I think intention plays a lot. I think meditation as well, getting into that state where you're not so much living through ego. You're in that state where you're in touch with your soul, you're in touch with your true purpose, getting into that state. And there's some exercises in the book and things of that nature. There's one in here where I'm not going to read it, but it talks about like individual symbol meditation, and it's from Penny Pierce, and she's really big into intuition. And so she tells people to get in a comfortable position, close their eyes, concentrate on the breathing, and then you ask your body and mind to bring you a personal symbol to help grow your intuitive development. So then you train your mind to focus on that specific symbol and give it permission to enter your heart and your soul and all of that. And then you stay in that relaxed state for a long time or however long you need, and then slowly open your eyes after. And so this was adapted from, or it is Penny Pierce's exercise. I thought that was really interesting. I talk about, as you go about your daily routine, pay attention to and keep a journal of your gut feelings and hunches. So training yourself to pay attention to and learn the feeling you get with intuition and how that feels. Because when you train yourself into that, you're going to be able to recognize it more as it happens to you. And then even taking time to concentrate on a specific emotion you've had with whatever, a place, a person, an object, and then listen to what your heart is saying about that as opposed to maybe your ego. So there's various exercises, but intuition and psychic senses go hand in hand. They share a deep kinship, but there's a little bit of a difference. So I think I give the example of if you're like in the woods and there's a stream and you want to cross the stream, I use that as an example of the differences between intuition and psychic senses, but they go together. So,
yeah.
And I think that the whole balancing of your mind, body, and spirit and all of that, when that is balanced, you are going to be able to communicate a lot better with loved ones because you're in that perfect state where you're aligned with your soul and your divine purpose. And that's going to help you for sure.
Talking about divine purpose, I have always seen signs throughout my life when I've not been on the right track, like career-wise or life-wise. I just feel like this, for me, it's like an unsettled feeling.
Yes.
That I just can't, it's a need that I just can't satiate. until I get back on the right track of what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing with my life, you know?
Absolutely. That's another good, gosh, you bring up such good points. And you have to pay attention to how you feel with that. And it's going to your intuition and the guidance from maybe guides or your inner self. It's going to bug you over and over and over and remind you that, okay, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And it's going to remind you. And so if you have those consistent reminders and feelings like, okay, I'm not satisfied, pay attention to that, because those are the divine messages that come to us.
Yeah. And for people to understand, I'm not just talking about, I'm not happy with my job.
Right.
Like, it's just the overall feeling of what you're doing in your life and with your life, and feeling fulfilled with that.
Yes.
I worked in the medical field for 20 years and I was very fulfilled, and I loved what I did. And I ended up having PTSD and some other issues, so I got out of the business. But also, I felt toward the end of my 20 years, with the last 15 of that being emergency medicine, I felt like I had served my purpose in that community, in that world, and I felt like it was time for me to move on at that point. So it wasn't that I was unhappy with my career that I chose for 20 years, or I was unhappy with doing it. I still love the medical field, and I still use all of those skills on a daily basis that I learned about medicine and treatments and things like that. But it was about, okay, this has run its course. It's time to move on. And I think that happens with relationships in life too sometimes.
Absolutely. I agree. It's like, I believe that the people that come into our lives, some are meant to stay forever. Some are meant to stay for a while. Some are very short-lived. There's a reason why they come into our lives. You know, there's a reason. I believe there's a reason for everything. And, you know, you learn from those experiences. And some of them may be negative, but they're placed there as a mirror. Sometimes, you know, people, you know, we see ourselves in other people or vice versa. And so, no, that's a good point. Again, you're bringing up such good points. I love it. This is an awesome conversation. And so this is really, I mean, I could just freaking go on for hours, but you know, So.
No, I'm really enjoying it too. Yeah. Like I said, I've been looking for somebody to talk about this because I'm so connected to this and like understand all of it throughout all of my life experiences and things that have happened to me. And talking about people coming into your life to teach you lessons, or for you to be there for them to teach them a lesson, and no matter how brief. For me, when I finally understood that in the past few years, I think for me, it got rid of my ego a little more. You were talking about ego.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to push my ego aside and understand that no matter how brief of an interaction you may have with somebody, what you say and how you treat them could make a huge difference in their life.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And it's like, you know, that feeling you get when you do something kind to another person and you're satiated, you feel wonderful. That's what I think life is all about. We're all connected.
Yeah.
You know of the concept of Emil Durkheim, you know, collective consciousness, all of that. We're all connected. And in terms of this and these stories, you know, we share it, then other people hear it, and then they share it. And it's this, you know, pay it forward type effect.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, even like here, sometimes in the Starbucks drive-through, someone in front of me will pay for my drink and then I'll pay for theirs. And it's just little things like that.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how you feel with that, because that's important.
Well, I think sometimes the universe puts certain people in your path for you to have an impact. And it might just be something as nice as holding the door open for somebody, or telling somebody thank you, or to have a nice day. And I've heard, and there's stories out there that you can look up, that people said that they were suicidal, but because one person was nice to them for 30 seconds, they decided they had something to live for.
That, you know, that's funny. We must be like totally like, I don't know, totally in tune here, because there was, I'm not going to say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. There was an individual, a man who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived, right? And so he shares, that's right. That's an example of that. He shares that when he was on the bus and going to the bridge, he wouldn't have jumped if one person would just stop and say, "Hey, are you okay?"
Yeah.
And because no one did, he jumped and survived. And now he's, he speaks and he's, pretty well known and, talks about all of this and whatnot. But you never know what someone's going through in life, and just a little simple act of "Hello, how are you?" that can change their day for the better.
Yeah, it's that whole ripple or butterfly effect.
There you go.
Like, you put that out there, you're making it, you have the decision in your life to make good waves or bad waves for people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just choose every day to do good things and put good things out there, and I think it comes down to, I think that the paranormal's taught me this a lot, about everything's about intention. And you had mentioned that earlier about intention. And I think when we go into the paranormal, it's all about intention in the paranormal. Because when you go into a place like investigate, I think the spirits already know what you're about when you come in there. They know what your intentions are and what you want, without you saying a word. And I think they automatically know what type of person you are too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so I think it's the same of I try to live my life in a way of I'm always putting out what I want to get back into the universe.
There you go. It's that golden rule.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm an asshole. I'll admit it.
Oh, we all are. We all are. We're human.
Yeah. But for the most part, I try to very hard every day to put that out there. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because I think all of this, I think the paranormal umbrella, I think encompasses all of this. And I think it's all connected, is what I've learned over 20 something years of investigating and researching. I think with the afterlife, I think it's all connected, because I think with the afterlife, how you acted in life and the way that you treated people depends on, I think that matters, because in the afterlife, well, guess what you need to work on, or you're going to go back and live again so you can learn these lessons you didn't learn last time.
That's right. That's the whole thing, that soul's progression and soul maturity, what we didn't get in this life. I agree. You're going to go into it again and, get it and experience it until you get it. So it's I almost mentioned that earlier, and I don't know why I didn't, but you did. So that's very, very important. And then, nowadays, good gracious, like people are just like nasty to each other.
Yeah.
And so I think that's too, we're in a time of such like turmoil and challenge that it's like the afterlife and the living world are now bridged together, partly because of that. Of course, there may be reasons we don't know, but my goodness, it's like, we can learn from each other and help each other. So
yeah. And I just wanted to say that because we've kind of jumped around to different things, but I think ultimately it's all connected.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
So we've been talking about kind of the ethereal conjecture, I guess, of, our experiences and what we've experienced. Well, I'm just saying that's what we kind of talked about. So let's get into the near-death experiences and kind of the actual concrete evidence, that people, I guess the only real evidence that we kind of have, or people have in near-death experiences.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic, and even shared death experiences, of course, coined by Raymond Moody. His book, Life After Life, I think it was published in 1975, is an excellent book. Near-death experiences fascinate me greatly because I think they give an honest glimpse into what awaits us when we pass on. And people from all walks of life, we're talking kids, adults, the elderly, from all over the world that have had these NDEs, they're so similar in nature.
Yeah.
There's this, and there have been a lot of studies. One of the largest ones was conducted by Dr. Sam Parney of New York University's Langone Medical Center. And, he feels that based on extensive research that the life of the brain isn't completely obliterated upon death. And so he's been able to study people, a few minutes after, their heart stops and all of that. And I talk about that too in the book, but there's these common traits among people that have had these near-death experiences where they talk about going to this place, and they describe it as a paradise. They describe it as that they can mold it to match maybe their cultural beliefs and whatnot. The colors are so insanely vibrant. There's this loss of desire for money or materialism. It's like their lives flash before them, but then they enter this just ultimate place where they feel nothing but love and peace, and they're able to meet with loved ones. And it's just so similar across the board with people. I mean, there's even a story, I think it was a little boy that I guess briefly passed from a ruptured appendix. And when he briefly went into the afterlife, he was able to meet his sister, who I guess passed. I don't know if it was, I forget if it was at birth or whatever. And he met her when they resuscitated him, all that. He told his parents, I was able to meet my sister. And he had never known about his sister before that happened. So it's just it's so fascinating. And there are some scientists that, have theories as to maybe that can explain it away. But I because of the numerous accounts with NDEs, it's like you can't dispute this. If it were just one or two people or like 10 people, but this is right. Like numerous for over many, many years with all these different traits.
Yeah, and across all religions, cultures,
exactly.
all over the world. We all have our own. I mean, we're some of our experiences, and so that's what makes us individuals. And so, how with different beliefs and with different the way you were raised and like all your different experiences, how would all these people have the same exact experience with the near-death experience? That's the one thing I could never get over. And because you have some of the scientists saying, no, it's just a death process of the brain dying or whatever. But I just, because of that, I find it hard to just throw it out and say that it's not true. All these people went through the same thing because they were dying, that there's not an afterlife, because there are all of these similarities. Yeah. And like you're saying, there are differences, but there are so many similarities. It's crazy.
Oh, it is. And it's like for years of this. And so you can't dispute it. And I was looking up here, Dr. Sam Parnia, his study, I think was at one point or is the largest of its kind in the world. It was conducted in, I think, 15 different United States and European medical centers. He studied more than like 2,000 people who experienced this. And they found that around 40% of those came back to life, had a perception of what was going on to them, even though they went beyond that threshold of death. And then about 10% had a deeply profound spiritual experience while in that state. And then 2% had full awareness. And then, of course, he talks about if some people may have had perception but later forgot, maybe due to medication or something like that. But it's so fascinating.
Well, and also not even talking about just people going into the proverbial white light that everybody's familiar with, but these people who have astral projected, that's the only term I can think of to use, but they're floating above, their body, watching what the doctors are doing. And when they come back to, they can recount what the doctors and nurses were talking about, what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, they were dead. So how do they know what the doctors and nurses were doing? And they watched them do it. I could see maybe, knowing the conversation or whatever, because maybe your ears are still working, that part of your brain's still working.
Yeah.
But to actually describe what people were wearing and things like that and little details that they shouldn't have known.
Right. Like the little boy with, he didn't know he had a sister, but was able to in that state. And, his parents were like, whoa, I'm sure, like blown away. Yeah. But I believe there was a study, I don't think it was in the US. They found that when the person's heart stopped, right, breathing stopped, there were still some signs of brainwave activity after that. So that's like a little window of, and even Dr. Sam Parney even found that too, that the brain isn't, like I said, the cells in the brain aren't completely obliterated. They can live on for a few moments, and then that time, that's when they study these individuals.
And also, I mean, probably the near-death experiences and shared death experiences are probably the most scientifically studied part of the paranormal, of what we call the paranormal, because you have all these doctors and huge universities putting money into this. And like you said, that one study was 2,000 people. And, that's probably just a small past slice of the people they could have talked to.
Right. And there's there's all kinds of studies that have been done. That's one. I think I talk about a couple of them in the book, but that's one of them that I discuss. And Dr. Samparnia, I mean, if you watch just interviews of him, CBS interviews and what, I mean, it's when you listen to him, it's just it's the wow factor. It's just hearing this.
Yeah.
I just feel I do, and I said it before. I think that NDEs really are glimpses into eternity for us, in a sense.
Yeah, and then also you have shared death experiences, which are interesting. They're kind of in the same category, but they're different.
Yeah, I had someone on my show that had a pretty profound shared death experience it was a few months ago. For the life of me, I remember it, but I don't remember the specifics because I don't want to be inaccurate sharing it, but it's in the archives of my show. You can just go find it. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name here. Oh, shame on me. But yeah, listening to that, I was just like, whoa, that is insane.
For anybody that doesn't know, what is a shared death experience?
So it's similar to an NDE, where it's an individual person where two people are experiencing the NDE of someone. And so it's like, in this case, it was like three. It was himself, his dear friend, and then, of course, the person that passed. And so both of them were able to experience what their loved one who was passing was experiencing at the same time. And without bias, without power suggestion, it was like they both had it at the same time, and then were able to corroborate it afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I know.
I have never had that, but I've somewhat seen that working in the medical field. I think I talked about it a little bit on Haunted Voices for the time that we had, but when I worked in a nursing home, when I was first starting out in medicine when I was 18 or 19, we had a lady who, she had Alzheimer's really bad, and she wasn't very, you couldn't have a conversation with her or anything because she was like in-stage Alzheimer's.
Oh my God.
But
gosh.
Whenever somebody on the Alzheimer's unit where I worked was going to die, she would talk about the man in the corner, and she was afraid of the man in the corner. Because I think inherently she was afraid that she was going to die. But yeah, within 24 hours, somebody would pass away. But this lady always knew because she would yell about, "Get him away from me," with the man in the corner, the man in the corner. And it was just general knowledge with all the nurses and staff and everything that, all right, Miss So-and-so's, on her man in the corner thing, who's going to die.
And how many times did that happen for her?
I worked there 5 nights a week for a year, and she was there the whole time. I don't remember. She might have passed away toward the end of me working there. But, yeah, I was there 5 nights, Monday through Friday for a year, and I think probably I experienced it on my shifts 5 or 6 times throughout that year.
That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And I've definitely had patients who were on their deathbed talk about seeing lights kind of up toward the ceiling in the corner, and also talking to dead loved ones like they're in the room with them. And it's easy to dismiss that as, oh, they're just, they're sick, they're hallucinating or whatever. But after you see it so many times and they're having a complete lucid conversation with this person, and you walk in the room and have a complete lucid conversation with you, it's hard to think that they're just hallucinating. Because it's not like they're seeing purple elephants with polka dots.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting ready to go, and their loved ones are meeting them, and just I can even imagine to witness that. Yeah, exactly. They're there. It's like, close to their time, I imagine, and their loved ones come and or guide or whoever it may be.
And unfortunately, I worked the last 15 years of my career in emergency medicine, so I never really got to see the end result of patients, and rarely did I ever find out what the end result was for that patient. So even the patients that I worked on that coded and whatever, and that clinically died, whether we got them back or not, if they ever had NDE, I don't know, because I would never see them beyond the ER, or the ambulance. So
right.
So yeah, I don't know how many of those people over the years that had any of that experience. I would be thinking back now. I wish I would have asked more. When I went into the ER, I wish I would have asked the doctors, nurses, well, what happened to this or that patient, or things like that. But I don't know. I kind of got in what my husband calls medical mode. And so when I was at work, I was very much focused on just what I was doing.
I get it.
For my patients and things.
Yeah.
And wasn't really thinking about, even though I've done the paranormal and investigated shit since I was a teenager, my mind wasn't at that level. It would be later on when I was kind of digesting what happened in that crazy, stressful experience that I would realize, oh, there was a paranormal aspect to that.
Yeah. I hear you on that. It's like now, if you were to go back now and have those, you would be more inclined to maybe ask, hey, whatever happened to that patient? I come from a family. I mean, my dad is a retired pharmacist. My mom's a nurse, and my grandpa was a doctor, and one of my aunts is a nurse. So I come from a medical family. It's a very commendable profession for sure.
Yeah, I think now at my age, I understand what the role of the paranormal was and what I did, and how important I think my empathic ability was for me to be successful at what I did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So on the ambulance, I kind of just always knew what I needed to do for my patients. And a lot of that came from, training and all that, and all the different, certifications I have and all that stuff. But you just have to have this inherent knowing of what you need to do to help this person. And sometimes that's just talking to them. That's not really doing anything medically. It's just knowing the right questions to ask, things like that when it comes to like mental health. But I think the empathic ability, because when the shit hits the fan, that's when I'm at my best. When it's the most chaos is when I'm very clear-headed and know exactly what to do.
Right. Yeah. And it's just having that innate intuition that you're open to and pay attention to. That's just an extra bonus, because not everyone in the medical field, I think, knows how to necessarily pay attention to their intuition. But if you do, boy, it's going to guide you.
Well, it's always served me very well in life. And
yes.
So, I just figured, well, I've got these spirit guides that are doing me well. So why not listen to them in my career when I'm trying to, help people
yes.
and save people's lives,
Totally.
But we haven't even gotten to spirit guides, but for me, I believe I have 4 of them.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, you can only have 2," and it's like, well, what? I mean, that's not factual. I mean, I think I have more than 2. I get around 3 or 4 myself.
Yeah, I don't know if all 4 of them are always around at the same time.
Right. Yeah, different reasons why they come in.
Yeah. I think I think they're all versed in different experiences. Maybe that's what it is. Like they're, what I'm saying? They each have a specialty, I guess would be the way to put it.
Right. Yeah. They help us with different facets of our lives. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so maybe one is more adept to, okay, well, in a previous life, they went through this situation and they can better help you in that situation.
Right.
But yeah, I think that comes, like we were talking about, being steered in your life in the direction that you're supposed to go. And I think they come into play a lot. With that.
Without a doubt.
I've had them. There was when me and my husband been together almost 18 years.
Oh wow, that's awesome! That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
when we'd been together a couple of years, and we decided to go on a trip to Chattanooga, which is a couple hours down the road, into Chattanooga, Tennessee, just for like a long weekend, little vacation. Well, the morning of, I just had this like gut feeling. And like, I just felt like all the spirit guides were on top of me, like, do not go. They're like trying to hold me down. Like, do not go.
Right.
And so I kind of hemmed and hawed and postponed our trip for as long as I could. And then my husband finally talked me into going. Well, we ended up having a really bad wreck on the interstate.
Oh my goodness.
It could have been way worse. Luckily, both of us, other than whiplash and things like that, a few bruises and cuts, we were both okay. But I wonder if I hadn't prolonged it, us staying at home, if something worse would have happened. Maybe it was inevitable that we were going to have a wreck that day to teach us whatever life lessons, but maybe it would have been a way worse wreck if we had left earlier. Right.
I mean, that's how that's the intuition, and that's the guides at work. I have experience. We all do, but there's an interesting one that I have where I was actually at a park, I believe it was, and I was standing there, and then something just kept saying to me, do not move backward. Whatever you do, do not move backward. So then and it kept bugging me over about a minute or two, and I was like, what is this? So then I turned around, and about 4 feet, if I had kept going back, I would have stepped right on a damn rattlesnake.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up.
Right. Yeah. How would you Yeah, if it's behind you, how the hell would you know that? And half the time you can't see them anyway. They're camouflaged. Yeah. Yeah, and then I told my famous Angel of Death story on Haunted Voices, I believe. I don't know if you heard that one.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and that story, people can go listen. I've talked about it on other shows. I'm not going to rehash it here, but yeah, the only thing I could think about was calling it the Angel of Death. Not that, not through the guise of religion or anything. I just don't know what else to call it. But that was that same nursing home where the lady would predict people's deaths by talking about the man in the corner. And so it made me wonder, after I had that experience, was that guy I saw, was he the man in the corner?
I was just going to ask you that right on.
Yeah.
Gosh, when you talk about it, I just can't help but thinking I'm a Family Guy fan. And so, Mr. Death, kind of funny character. I just can't help but get his image in my mind. So yeah, I was thinking when you were saying, I'm like, oh, that's probably, he probably saw who the woman saw. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it didn't scare me.
No.
He wasn't scary at all. I thought it was a real person. That's why I went down to the room. But, it wasn't a creepy smile when he smiled at me in the hallway and turned and go in the room. It wasn't creepy. It wasn't scary. If it was, I damn sure wouldn't have walked down there in the dark hallway to go into a dark room.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and it's just, reading your book, it just brought back all of the stories I've told today. Ones that I hadn't even thought about. And I'm like, oh shit, that happened. And then I'm constantly reminded in my own house of the dead, because I have a resident ghost, and so he pops up every once in a while, or I will see an orb of him.
That's interesting when you see the orbs. Yeah, I mean, on the camera, I'm like, no. When you see them, oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I would love to hear that.
No, this is like just a fucking ball of light in the middle of the air,
bright as the sun.
Yeah, really bright. I guess it's about a month ago, I was sitting in my living room, and my chair was facing the doorway that goes from our living room to our kitchen, and then I could see out the back door, and we have a glass back door with a deck. It was nighttime, and I just saw this fucking orb float by outside on the deck, on our back deck, to the point that I got up and went out and looked because I thought somebody was flying a drone.
Oh, it was that bright. Oh man, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was like a flashlight. Yeah, it looked like I don't know, LED light on a drone or something, but it looked like a flashlight. But it was real low. It was about 3 foot off the deck when I watched it go by the window, and it was on the outside of the window.
How big was it? So like a smaller light? I'm thinking of a drone light, so it can't be that, but still bright though.
Yeah, probably about the size of a baseball.
Okay, yeah. Oh my goodness.
And I watched it. And as it slowly, and this happened, it wasn't quick. It slowly floated by the door, and my dogs were all out back. And I'm like, well, nobody's out there. It wouldn't be a droner. They'd be going crazy.
Exactly.
They'd be barking and things, something like that. And we have a privacy fence around our backyard, a 6-foot privacy fence, and it's locked, so nobody's getting in our backyard to play a prank or something. But yeah, I got up and went out there and looked because I was convinced it was somebody flying a drone across my back porch.
I'd be like, oh no, hell no, no.
Yeah.
So when you went out, did you feel anything, like a certain emotion or anything when you went out to investigate it?
It was just the gut feeling of like, oh, it's the resident ghost.
Okay.
His name's Robert.
Okay.
And he's a Civil War soldier, and I've seen him quite a few times.
Oh, that is so awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have not yet been to Gettysburg. I mean, are you serious? I'm supposed to go next year with the Ghost Research Society, but I can't believe I haven't been yet. My goodness.
I have not either, but I'm going this year.
Oh, see? Okay, I'll go next year. There you go. Oh, I would love to hear about it. You got to tell me how it is, because can't wait to go.
Yeah, I'm going to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in July.
Oh, great.
So that'll be
fantastic.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to wrap it up. We can sit here and talk for another 2 or 3 hours or more.
Yeah, we can do another episode for sure. We can do part 2. I mean, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So we'll get you back on Haunted Voices too soon too.
Yes, I would love to. It would be my pleasure.
Sure.
So this book just came out, The Afterlife Chronicles, exploring the connection between life, death, and the beyond. So, do you have any other things on the burner coming up soon?
On the burner. So, yeah, this was a big accomplishment, and it's, you can get it on Amazon US, Amazon International. I'm going to also be publishing the paperback version through Ingram Spark to make it worldwide. But on Amazon, you can get the ebook, hardback, or paperback. But let's see here. I have some podcasts that I recently did that are coming on, and some other ones that I'm going to be doing. But I'm actually presenting at, I consider it a big presentation just because it's filmed and it's going on a their YouTube channel, but it's up in Laguna Woods, which is kind of like an hour, no, not kind of, but it is. It's like an hour north of San Diego, near Laguna Niguel there, Newport Beach area. And well, not quite Newport Beach, but in that area, there's a really big retirement community. And so they have this club there called the Life After Life Club. And they've had people, presenters coming that have had NDEs, researchers as well in the paranormal. So it's kind of I think it's kind of a big deal just because they've had some, really some people on that have had some amazing, like I said, near-death experiences and things of that nature. So they asked me to present. Yeah. So I'll be doing that this coming Saturday on the 6th at 9:30. And so I'm like, I better do a darn good job because this thing is recording. So I'm going to be recording. But then I have some other presentations coming up in the summer. I present through San Diego Oasis a lot. And that's like an adult learning type of community. And they have people from all walks of life doing stuff. So I'll be doing that in May and June. And just, I want to start a new book. I have a list, but it's like I can't decide which one I'm supposed to do. So I think I'll take a break from that for maybe a month and just kind of mull over it. And that's it. And then just Haunted Voices Radio on Friday nights at 8 Pacific, 10 Central, 11 Eastern. Can't wait to get you back on. And then my show, the Afterlife Chronicles, it's on hiatus right now. I probably will debut it sometime, maybe in like August or something, like come back with it. So, and then I'm working on this other podcast idea I have that I'm kind of mulling over that I haven't started yet, but I think that's going to be my next project. So
awesome. Yeah. And everybody can check out all your books on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're available to buy on there or on your website, authornicolestrickland.com.
Sure.
And thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed the chat.
Oh, me too. This was an incredible conversation. Thank you so much. It's nice to talk with like-minded people who share the same, philosophies and viewpoints and, learning from each other. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It was definitely my pleasure. All right, everybody. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good day. Thank you for listening to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Join us next week for an all-new, amazing guest. And in the meantime, please go on Spotify or Apple and give us a rate and a review. And go over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you would like to submit your story, you can email it to unseenparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. And you can remain anonymous if you like. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there.